Peace, y'all. So, some of us walk around with these feelings that are so inflamed and so ready to be activated all of the time by the slightest things. And this comes from just a not understanding, I should say a lack of understanding of how to allow that energy to flow out of us and return to the pit, the netherworld that it came from. And it's very interesting to see, because if we think of ourselves back as children, what do children do, right? If something hurts their feelings, they cry, they throw a fit, they let it go, it's not there anymore. And now there are so many people who are so ready to react and to hurt someone else because these, I would say, pustules, like their emotions have become such pustules. Because this is the analogy I always give. Imagine that you were shot by a bullet, right? And that initial emotional trauma is that bullet, boom, it's in the flesh. So instead of actually going in there when it hurts and it's uncomfortable and we first got shot and pulling it out, and then painfully applying whatever salve or cleanser we need to that wound to be able to stop it from bleeding, stop it from hurting, stop it from being infected, and to be able to heal and regrow with our emotional wounds, we are instead guarding and holding over that wound, and it's becoming so inflamed and so pussy and just so delicate and sensitive to the outside world because it is an unhealthy abscess for us to be protecting. So our way to overcome this is, when the emotions come, the difficult emotions, really open them up and consider, why am I feeling this? Why did I just react this way when the situation did not call for that? And really dig deep within yourself into that wound, because it's going to hurt and it's going to be uncomfortable to look into it. But really dig into it and figure out, what was it that really hurt me? Because usually it's things that happen to us when we're very young and we keep them for so very long. So consider, what is it that caused me to feel this way now, to where everything is so intense and so inflamed that I have to do this or this or this in that moment when it's really not necessary and it's not called for. And children, they cry and they release it and it's gone. And that's another thing where society has made us think that, if you cry, if you feel these emotions fully, then there is some sort of weakness to you. And that is not the truth. That is not the way it goes. Grief is such an important part of life, because truly, if you love something, you have to grieve the loss of it. So if you truly have an emotion, there has to be grief when it is released. This is just part of nature. So when you're grieving a loss, you have to feel these things, and you have to let them run through you, because if not, they turn into all sorts of not insensitivities, well, sometimes insensitivities. They turn into all sorts of sensitivities to other people, and then now you have these triggers and those triggers, and it's all activated by previous trauma that was not released. So I think it's really, really important for us to remember this, that some of us still are walking around with an infected and inflamed emotional wound, many of them. And that's why some people are just so triggered and agitated and just respond in an inflamed way without you really feeling like you sparked anything from them. So it's really important to understand that about yourself first and other people as well. Again, it always hurts deep to dig into the wound, but that is the only way that you're going to be able to take that bullet out. So I suggest that you put those gloves on and get ready to do the work, because that's literally the only way that you will find peace as well. Is if you're able to confront all of these demons that you've gained over the years, and be able to vet them out. Be able to really comfort yourself and let yourself know, I'm okay. It's fine. I know this happened then, and perhaps it wasn't right. It might really have not been right. It might have been your perception in that moment that you thought, this is really, really unjust. And maybe it was just your feelings that were really hurt, and nobody paid attention to that. Nobody let you know, like, hey, that's not how I meant it, or that's not what this actually was. Let me explain to you. Because a lot of times we lack that sort of closeness with people to even be able to express to them, I felt this way or I felt that way. And it's just because generationally so many people have experienced so much and survived so much that they don't always have the capacity to be able to sit with you and tell you, this is how I felt about that, or show you that sort of vulnerability for you to be able to learn it and use it for yourself and the people to come. So it's really just important that we walk with this, I would say, awareness of self and of others, because at the end of the day, we are inseparable from other people. And also, this ties hand in hand with judgments, right? So if you're someone that goes around a lot judging other people, it's very easy to see that you are not happy with yourself. And I say that because if you were happy with yourself, you wouldn't feel the need to be judging, gossiping. You have to sit down and do some work. Like, that's honestly, if the jokes are not better than trying to hate on somebody, you might not be funny. No, but seriously, like that, there are way more humorous things that exist than talking about somebody's shoes or this or that, or did you hear the way they said X, Y, and Z? People's being. That's not what comedy is made out of, not in my opinion anyway. But it's very easy to see the people who are the most inflamed, the people who respond the harshest in a lot of situations, they're not happy with themselves. They're home judging themselves, nitpicking about X, Y, and Z. So I personally just have a lot of understanding for these people and empathy, because I know it's not fun. It's not fun to live that way. So again, if anything, it's in the Bible, there is a verse that talks about the log and the eye. So saying your neighbor has a speck in their eye and be like, ooh, look at that speck in your eye. But there's a log in your eye. Don't know why it was a log and a speck. I don't know why that was a comparison made. But it's literally like that. Like calling on somebody for whatever they're doing or however they're learning or growing in that moment, or maybe not learning or growing in that moment, is just... And I say this not to say that proper judgment is not needed. Of course, proper judgment. We should all be exercising correct proper judgment by truth, which is the laws of nature, the laws of this planet, the laws of spirit, of life. Judgment and discernment in that sense. But when it comes to judging someone for this and that and this and that and all of these other things that are so nitpicky and meticulous, just remember, when you're pointing one finger, there's 3 pointing back at you. 3. Recall who you are, what your being is, and that hurt people hurt people. It's the same thing with judgmentality. Judgmentality? Don't know if that's a word, but I'm using it. It's the same thing with people being judgmental. Okay? Judgmental people are judgmental to themselves more than anyone else. So just be aware of that. If someone is like that, if someone's gossiping, all of these things, they don't have a steady sense of security in themselves, or they would not be doing that to other people. So pay attention and remember, challenge yourself to heal in all of the ways that you might not want to, or you might not feel comfortable doing, because that is the way that we are going to grow and excel together and be able to heal as the whole humanity that we are meant to be. Peace.